One of the questions that I hear most asked of female leaders is how do they do it all? So I think I need to throw that question to you. You know, how do you handle it all, you know, as a family man and also running such a large enterprise?
For most of us, it's about the choices that we make. And if you want to choose to take that extra business trip, you want to choose to take that extra meeting or that dinner during the week as opposed to spending time with your family, it's up to you. And conversely, if you want to choose to get home for your kids' practice or to have dinner with the family or to put your kids to bed, you'll make that choice.
Yeah. So what do you do to make sure you are present with your family and present with the people around you?
Physical presence is not the same as being present. Because you're in the room with someone doesn't make you present. You know, present is where your energy is focused. Presence, to me, is highly related to consciousness. What are you conscious of at that time? And being in the room with the kids is not necessarily spending time with the kids if you're catching up on email on your phone, or you've got your head buried into your desktop or your laptop. And I think a lot of time people make it about time spent. Oh, I spent 30 minutes with the kids, an hour with the kids, an hour and a half with the kids. But really, in terms of being present, maybe a very small percentage of that time was actually you being present because you were doing something else while you were quote unquote with them. So I think this is a really good example of where quality is far more important than quantity. And even if you only have a few minutes, when you are 100% focused on the person that you're with, whether it's your kids, your colleagues, anyone, there's nothing like that when you're actively listening. You know, most people listen with the intent to reply and not the intent to understand.
So let's talk a bit about conscious leadership and conscious management.
For me personally, my first principle of management is managing compassionately, which certainly requires a fair degree of consciousness. And it goes back to what we were talking about earlier, which is being present. And managing compassionately is essentially built on the premise that when working with others, it's important to put yourself in their shoes and to walk in their shoes and to see the world through their lens and their perspective. And oftentimes we have a tendency to project our own worldview onto other people. And I think it's a very common mistake, especially amongst less experienced executives who just expect everyone around them to do things the way they do them. And it ends up creating a lot of tension and a lot of frustration, as opposed to taking a moment to truly understand the person that you're working with and their hopes, their dreams, their fears, their concerns, what motivates them, what are their areas for improvement, and taking the time to really play to their strengths and taking the time to coach them through their areas of weakness. And it takes a lot of energy to do properly, and it's really, really hard because we all get triggered. We all jump to conclusions. We're all egocentric. Not egomaniacal, but egocentric. We see the world through our own experiences and through our own perspectives. And so if we can take the time when interacting with others to be a spectator to our thoughts, especially when we become emotional, which is very, very challenging, and to actually think for a moment, where's this tension coming from? You know, maybe this person that disagrees with you, it's not nefarious intention. Maybe they're having a bad day. Maybe you said something that triggered them on something that took place years before you ever met them. Maybe they're not up to speed on something you're deeply knowledgeable about, and they're concerned about revealing that fact. I mean, there's a whole host of explanations for why at times we're not seeing eye to eye with the people that we work with. And if we can just take a moment to manage compassionately and understand what they're going through, I think it can be invaluable, and I think it can change the way we do business with one another.